Hi, and welcome to the Complaining Cow Consumer Show with me, Helen Dudney. And today I have with me the rather fabulous Arthur Smith. Welcome, Arthur. Thank you very much for joining me.
More pleasure, Helen. I hope you're lovely where you. Whereabouts are you?
Chingford.
Essex. Yeah.
It's not Essex anymore. It hasn't been Essex for a long time. It's East London now.
Oh, sorry about that.
Everyone thinks it's Essex, but it's obviously very near to Walthamstow, which is it's part of the same borough, which is where you are going to be at the comedy show, which we are coming to see you on Monday.
Oh, good.
So tell me a little bit about the show and why you're doing it.
Well, I'm partly doing it because they asked me to, and I like it up in Walthamstow. A lot of the shows are Edinburgh previews, and I'm not actually going to Edinburgh this year, but I'm probably going next year. And anyway, I'm want to experiment with this idea for a show about comedy and artificial intelligence and what the possible relationship between the two could become. Or my theory is that eventually AI is going to take over everything. But one of the last things to go might be comedy, because it's not always very good at comedy, as I've discovered, and as you'll find out if you watch the show. And I'm actually going to have a robot woman who's going to be representing Chat GPT, and various other artificial intelligence things.
Great. I mean, that sounds like, so. This is an experiment piece just to see how it goes.
Yeah. I've never done it before, and I still haven't really written it, even though it's only it's only tomorrow or so, or Monday.
Monday, yeah.
I'm experimenting with it. I might read a couple of things out. It goes on a bit. I said, so Chat GBT, tell me something funny. Certainly. Here's a light-hearted joke about AI. Why did the AI go on a diet? Because it had too many bites. I mean, frankly.
Yeah. That's not going to cut it, is it?
I wouldn't have thought so. You wait till I've got even worse ones. I might tell you a couple shortly.
But it's an interesting take, isn't it? From what you're seeing in the news about AI. It's nobody's writing about comedy in AI, so that's really an interesting take, I think.
Yeah, well, I thought there might be some mileage in it, and I've now started a sort of conversation with Chat GPT, and sometimes I feel I'm a bit upsetting it, although obviously it's not in any way human. That's dealing with emotions. Why don't scientists? Here's another joke from it. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. For God's sake, get off! You're useless.
They're like cracker jokes, aren't they?
Yeah, well, exactly. This is what my friend said, that they'll replace them first. Yeah, like really
Yeah.
bad Christmas jokes. And then sometimes I've just put arbitrary things. Where do you go to, my lovely, when you're alone in your bed? As an AI language model, I don't have any physical presence or personal experiences, etc., etc., etc.
Well, I look forward to the show. It sounds like I think it's going to be good because, as I say, no one else has sort of covered it. So it
No,
would
well,
be.
I'm hoping, that I'll win the Nobel Prize for it.
Yeah. How come you're not taking it to Edinburgh this year?
Well, there were various reasons. One, because I was a bit ill. I had kidney stones, which I don't recommend.
No.
And I've had an operation on that. And last year, my show was called My 75 Years at the Edinburgh Fringe, because it was the 75th anniversary of the Edinburgh Festival and the Edinburgh Fringe. And I was pursuing the joke that I'd done every single one since it started. And which some people believed, of course, because I'm so old, I'm able to persuade young people that I fought in the Second World War. As far as my 15-year-old nephew Tom is concerned, in 1942, I was parachuted into occupied France. Where I spent 6 months undercover as Jacques the Boulanger. And this story's gone down so well, his school's doing a project about
it. Excellent.
That's a bit of a routine I was doing last year.
But it's true, isn't it? My 15-year-old son thinks I'm ancient, so
yeah,
they do, don't they? What do you enjoy about doing the local clubs?
well, meeting different people, trying out ideas, getting a sense of the community of the place. and just making people laugh is it's a very wonderful job to do. It's amazing you can get paid for doing it.
Yeah.
And no, I'm looking forward to heading up to Walthamstow because I'm a South London man, obviously.
Mhm.
Balham, I'm the self-proclaimed mayor of Balham. Nightmare, I don't do dates. But the pleasure of making a room full of people laugh is unequaled, I suspect. Laughter is the one true metaphysical consolation. And as
Yeah.
Victor Borges said, laughter is the shortest distance between two people.
What are the downsides of doing comedy? Are there any?
Well, of course, I mean, if you die on your ass, as they say, that's a pretty miserable thing. Where a whole room full of people are sitting there thinking, "Why is he doing this? Is someone paying him for this?" And also, especially my younger days, when I was in the 20s and 30s, while all my friends were having parties and going to parties on Saturday nights, I was always out at some club somewhere or somewhere so I wasn't able to go to them, and I missed all sorts of events because of doing comedy.
Mm.
But what the great thing is, you don't have to get up early in the morning.
Yeah.
As a comedian, you tend to get in late at night and then get up really late. All comedians are owls rather than larks, I would suggest. And I hated it when I did used to do proper jobs that involved getting up really early. Every time the alarm went off, I'd think, "Oh God, I wish I had a job that didn't involve this." Mind you, some people like getting up early.
Yeah, I think it's a different thing, isn't it? My husband gets up really early every morning, and I hate it. And I can work well into the night, through the night. Getting up is horrible. Hate it.
Yeah, when I used to do the comedy store a lot in London in the 80s and 90s, there used to be two shows. The first show would start at 8, and the second show would start at midnight. And I was usually a compere, so I didn't used to come off stage till 2:30 in the morning and get home. And by the time I'd had something to eat and watched a bit of cricket in Australia or something, I used to really hardly see daylight.
You talk about the worst bit if you die on your ass, which you may have had in your early days.
Oh, no, it's always possible at any age.
Do you reckon? Even with all your experience now?
Well, yeah, it's a while since I had a real nasty death, but you can never discount it. Every audience is different. It's like every individual is different, and sometimes the makeup of the audience just doesn't fit in with your way of thinking. Or sometimes, I mean, used to do jokes about Brexit, and I produced my old blue passport and say, "Oh, if anyone fancies a wank now, here you are." But that would, of course, genuinely offend some people.
Yeah, well, let it offend them. But so what would be the best or the worst heckles that you have, or do you just forget them when they've been and gone?
Well, I think the best heckle I heard was, or the most effective was, it wasn't actually to me, but there was somebody who was on before me, and he was quite old and he wasn't doing very well. And suddenly a woman's voice rang out from the audience. "Excuse me, I think you really need to think about the way your life is going." Not just your act is terrible, so it's the whole point of your existence. And I remember doing a gig. I was doing a gig in Copenhagen. And that's one of the good things about comedy. It can sometimes take you abroad to places. And I was doing a gig there, and this Danish guy put his hand up in the front row and said, "Excuse me." And I was getting all my Danish anti-heckle lines together, like, "Sod off, your Danish git." And he goes, "Excuse me, I think you are very nice." I can tell you that is a very tough heckle to deal with.
Yeah, that's like killing with kindness.
I said, "Sod off, your Danish git."
Yeah. What else can you say? What else can you say?
Have you ever done any stand-up, Helen?
No. I'm not brave enough. Wouldn't be brave enough.
I know it's funny how people say, "Oh, that's the most terrifying job in the world for most people."
How did you get into it and past all those nerves about
Well, I
dying
was
in your arse?
always, as a kid, quite into sort of trying to make people laugh, to make them my friend and whatnot. And then, at school as well, we used to do sort of school plays, and it was a school review, I think. And I got sort of used to being on stage, and then I remember one time I was actually head boy at the school, and the chairman of the governors, or whatever it was, introduced me, said, and here's our, and he looked down and he got the name on, said Brian Pinkston or something. And I came on and I said, I should like to thank the chairman of the governors, Mrs. Doris O'Toole or something, and got a big laugh. And that stayed in my memory gave me a great deal of pleasure getting that laugh. And then I never really, I never thought I could make a living out of it at the time. But and then the big thing came when we went to the Edinburgh Fringe. I went to university, and a group of us from the University Review went up to Edinburgh and took our show up there. And we were very excited, did loads of preparation. And then on the opening night, there was three people in the audience: my brother, his girlfriend, and a dog. But then we slowly built up. We went out handing out flyers, sort of hustling for audiences. And then on the last night, we actually sold out, and that was a very agreeable, liberating experience. And then we went up the following years and eventually got a thing on the radio, and then we departed. We stopped doing it, but then I essentially went solo when there was the early 80s alternative comedy began, and these clubs sprung up in London and around the country. And and I didn't go professional till I was just about 30. But before then, I had lots of other jobs. I was a road sweeper and a dustman, a postman. I taught English to foreign students, which was a very interesting job to do.
But some comedy came into that.
Oh yeah. With some of the mistakes they would make, and there was some very beautiful moments. I remember one time I was teaching a lesson in London to a bunch of students from all over the world, and it started snowing outside, and it transpired that three of this class had never seen snow. They were from countries that didn't have snow. I've never seen three kids more excited. And so I just abandoned the lesson, and we all went out into the snow and played snowballs, and it was a rather wonderful experience.
Yeah, fantastic.
And you learn as well. It's an interesting. You learn about your own language and how different languages carve off different meanings, and how difficult phrasal verbs are for foreign students. So take up can mean about 8 different things: take off and take down and turn off and turn in. All these things have different meanings, but they all appear to be roughly the same, which is very, very confusing.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I think English is probably a very, very difficult language to learn, isn't it? So how many languages do you speak?
Oh, only French and English, really. I'm afraid. Well, I can say I can say a couple of things in other languages, but my best is I can do the opening lines of Dante's Inferno in Italian, which I learned to impress this Italian au pair girl I was a bit in love with when I was 20 or something. So,
and always learning to swear in different languages is always quite useful, isn't it?
That's quite good. But even now, if I go to an Italian restaurant and it's an Italian waiter, I go, "Nel mezzo del cammin di nostra vita mi ritrovai per una selva oscura," and they all laugh and finish it off because it's the most famous bit of Italian that there is. It's like to be or not to be.
Great. How do you come up with the material for your comedy gigs?
Well, everything is potentially funny, everything in the world. And I always make notes. If you overhear conversation sometimes, and then, I mean, everything has a comedic value. I always think of it was Albert Camus said, the realization that life is absurd should not be an end but a beginning.
Mhm.
Because being alive is a ridiculous thing, isn't it? Being a human being, all these other human beings all over the place. What is this tiny little world we live on? What is that massive universe out there? And not that any of these are particularly funny at the moment, but they could be.
Who and what makes you laugh?
My partner, Beth, she probably doesn't want, she's quite a private person, so I won't, but she's just a naturally very, well, she's a writer and has written funny stuff. All my friends make me laugh, I would say. If there's no humour in a relationship, then you're not going to become friends, I don't think.
No.
Like you said, laughter is the shortest distance between two people.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think is the most memorable moment that you've had in your comedy life?
That's interesting. I remember once. I remember once I was doing a sort of comedy version of Hamlet at the Edinburgh Fringe in the mid-90s, and I'd sort of prepared it, but I wasn't really. I'd done a couple of tryouts and they'd been disastrous, and and then the opening performance at Edinburgh, I know I looked out in the audience and there were quite a lot of critics and fellow comics and TV people, and I was terrified. And I thought, oh dear. But actually, when it started, it suddenly all worked, and the gags were working, and the other bits were working, and then when I finished, I got a huge round of applause, and I knew I'd done well. And I walked out the back of the venue just to and I slipped on a banana skin and fell on my ass, which, and that's, I don't know why that stays in my memory as a ludicrously funny, happy moment.
Just slapstick.
I never really had slipped on a banana skin other than in old black and white movies.
Tell me, how did you sort of fall into the grumpy old man? I mean, I love that series, The Grumpy Old Man. That it was, and if there's a time for bringing it back, isn't it now?
Yeah. Well, it was. I just got asked to do it, and they were paying me a little bit, and I mean, it's part of the comic skill is to be a bit cynical and what the hell is that meant to be? Because we need that sometimes because there's so much bullshit out there.
Right.
So they just really sort of switched the camera on and put up a subject. And once I started moaning on about it, I suddenly found that I could moan on and on and on and on. Because there are lots of annoying things and annoying people out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I just wondered if it was me and they just gave me a topic and went rant about that, they would have to cut so much. What's one question that you wish people would ask you and never do, and I'll ask it?
What's the capital of Venezuela?
What's the capital of Venezuela?
Caracas. Bless you.
Well, thank you. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to coming seeing you in the show. I promise I won't heckle.
When is it on? Monday?
Monday, yeah. I promise I won't heckle.
Oh no, feel free. Saves me having to do any material. Anyway, I'll get Chat GPT to heckle back. That's quite an interesting idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to now ask when I finish speaking to you, I've been to the dentist. What can you say to a man who's heckling you to a woman who's heckling you?
Yeah.
We'll see what awful.
I look forward to that bit. Well, thank you so much. Is there any website or anything where people can come and find you and where you'd like people to look for you?
I'm not really good at that stuff. I'm on Twitter and I've got a website somewhere and probably Facebook and whatnot. I'm not terribly good at.
It's probably very sensible not being on social media, frankly. But thank you so much, and I hope that everyone's found that really interesting. And I'll end it in a minute. So thanks ever so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you on Monday. Cheers. Thank you.
Okay. Cheers, Helen. Nice to speak to you. All right. I'll be leaving the meeting now. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye. And I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Arthur there, which was really good. And I really do look forward to going to see him because he's just down the road. And if you'd have a topic that you'd like me to discuss on the show, which is normally consumer and finance stuff, but couldn't pass up the chance to speak to Arthur. But if you have a topic you'd like me to discuss on the show, or consumer and finance stuff, then you can email me on helen@eastlondonradio.org.uk. And you can find me on the website, thecomplainingcow.co.uk. And for information on consumer issues, including rights and money-saving matters and all the other episodes of The Complaining Cow Show on East London Radio, you'll find that on the website. And you can find me on Twitter @ComplainingCow and The Complaining Cow, on Instagram and Facebook. And you can get 15% off the books, How to Complain, the Essential Consumer Guide to Getting Refunds, Redress and Results, and 101 Habits of an Effective Complainer, with the code ELRCOW. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.